Welcome back, survivalists. So President Biden just gave an update on the new Omicron variant of the coronavirus that is quickly spreading around the world and is in the U.S. already. And I wanted to watch that update with you guys, kind of give my commentary on that, and kind of see what is the U.S.'s reaction to that and what information we have on this new variant as of right now. Now, before we really jump into this, I just want to say that I don't want this live stream getting politicized. I'm not going to get political in this live stream. I don't want anybody commenting political stuff. If you do, I'm just not going to display it. And I really am more curious about what is the U.S.'s reaction to this. Could this lead to another lockdown? Our entire United States military has the vaccine. They're all vaccinated. Are they more at risk? Are they less at risk to this new variant? Like, I really want to know that. And one thing that really freaks me out about this virus is the longer that we allow this to go on, the more variants that we are going to see. The narrative last year was that we all got lucky with this global pandemic. It could have been far worse. We could have had a species-ending pandemic. We could have had an extinction level event with this pandemic, and we got lucky, and the coronavirus was not that bad. And that was the narrative last year. The longer we allow this thing to go on, and the more variants that are emerging, the more risk of a species-ending event occurring, the higher the risk of that happening, which kind of freaks me out a little bit, and why I think it is important to stay up to date on the current news along with this. As of right now, I believe that there's 35 known variations of the novel coronavirus, this particular version. But in all likelihood, that number is probably low. There could literally be hundreds of variations, but maybe they didn't spread as much, so it didn't become the dominant strain. But the longer that we go on with this, the more possible variations that we could see. So let me jump into what the World Health Organization, before we jump into what Biden's update is on this Omicron, let me jump in and kind of give you guys some preliminary information from the World Health Organization. So, it's not really involved with the U.S. politics, is why I like this source. But so for transmittability, is essentially saying it's not clear whether the Omicron is more transmissible than the Delta variant or any of the other variants. So we don't really know if it's more transmissible. Severity of disease, it is not clear whether the infection with Omicron causes more severe disease compared to infection with other variants, including Delta. So again, we don't know. But just that two statements alone, I think, is pretty interesting, because it is possible that it could be more transmissible. It's possible that it could be more severe. And if not this one, then another variation of it could be more severe and more transmissible. So right now, those two things are still huge question marks for us that we don't know. This is a really interesting part here. Effectiveness of the SARS-CoV-2 infection. Preliminary evidence suggests there may be an increased risk of reinfection with Omicron, i.e., people who have previously had COVID-19 could become reinfected more easily with Omicron. So that is really pretty interesting to me. That because for a long time the narrative has been that if you already had the vaccine, you already had the infection, you have the natural antibodies. Those natural antibodies are better at preventing you from getting reinfected than the vaccine. This is saying that with this variant, it may actually be the opposite. That may not be true. With this variant, there is an increased risk of reinfection with this one. Or maybe that's increased risk compared to the original SARS-CoV variant. But that's pretty interesting that we need more data on that, but that's still kind of concerning. So the effectiveness of the vaccine, World Health Organization is working with technical partners to understand the potential impact of the variant on our existing countermeasures, including vaccines. So again, we don't know. Effectiveness of current tests. The widely used PCR test continues to detect infection, included infections with the Omicron. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We don't know if it's more contagious. We don't know if it's more infectious, Preliminary data is showing an increased risk of reinfection if you've already had COVID. We don't know if the vaccine works, but we do know at least that our current tests do work. And again, this just kind of shows what happens if we do get a variant that it is more transmissible, it is more impactful to you, maybe a higher mortality rate. Maybe our tests don't detect this other variant, and maybe our vaccines are not effective against the other variant. That possibility is very real. That is a very real possibility that we may get a variant like that, which is terrifying. It really is. And why I think we should stay up to date on this. So let's watch a little bit of Biden's announcement today from this. And this is coming from the White House YouTube channel. You guys should all subscribe to the actual White House YouTube channel. Too often we only get these announcements filtered through, CNN or through Fox News, but you can get these kind of raw updates directly from their YouTube channel. So hopefully you guys can hear the audio in this. I tell you what, let me actually do this differently. Instead of sharing my entire screen, let me share just that tab. Stand with me for a second here, guys. Share screen, Chrome tab, this one right here. All right.
Hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, able to get together with your family and friends. And it was great to see so many families getting together this Thanksgiving after being apart last year. And we have much to be grateful for as a nation. When I was elected, I said I would always be honest with you. So today I want to take a few moments to talk about the new COVID variant, first identified last week in Southern Africa. It's called the Omicron. It is, to their credit, the scientific community in South Africa quickly notified the world of the emergence of this new variant. This kind of transparency is to be encouraged and applauded because it increases our ability to respond quickly to any new threats. And that's exactly what we did. The very day the World Health Organization identified the new variant, I took immediate steps to restrict travel from countries in Southern Africa. But while we have that travel restrictions can slow the speed of Omicron, it cannot prevent it. But here's what it does. It gives us time. It gives us time to take more actions, to move quicker, to make sure people understand you have to get your vaccine. You have to get the shot. You have to get the booster. Sooner or later, we're going to see cases of this new variant here in the United States. We'll have to face this new threat just as we face those that come before it. Today, there are 3 messages about the new variant that I want the American people to hear. First, this variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic. We have the best vaccine in the world, the best medicines, the best scientists, and we're learning more every single day. And we'll fight this variant with scientific and knowledgeable actions and speed, not chaos and confusion. We have more tools today to fight the variant than we've ever had before. From vaccines to boosters to vaccines for children, 5 years and older, and much more. A year ago, America was floundering against the first variant of COVID. We beat that variant significantly, and then we got hit by a far more powerful threat, the Delta variant. But we took action, and now we're seeing deaths from Delta come down. We'll fight and look, we're going to fight.
And so this is kind of my big concern is, so he's saying we had the original variant, we had a huge spike in death, that started coming down. Then we had the Delta variant, huge spike of death. We finally got that under control. Now we may be in a third wave with this new variant. That cycle may go on for a long time, unfortunately. It literally may be years before we finally get this under control. And, I'm told that we've had 35 variants so far. We may end up with 100 known variants, maybe 200 known variants before this is all over, which sucks, man. This stuff just keeps on going on, and we may be dealing with this for years, which is why I think, it is important to stay up to date on this.
And beat this new variant as well. We're learning more about this new variant every single day. And as we learn more, we're going to share that information with the American people candidly and promptly. Second, the best protection, I know you're tired of hearing me say this, the best protection against this new variant or any of the variants out there, the ones we've been dealing with already, is getting fully vaccinated and getting a booster shot. Most Americans are fully vaccinated, but not yet boosted. If you're 18 years or over and got fully vaccinated before June the 1st, go get the booster shot today. They're free and they're available at 80,000 locations coast to coast. A fully vaccinated booster person is the most protected against COVID. Do not wait. Go get your booster if it's time for you to do so. And if you are not vaccinated, now's the time to get vaccinated and take your children to be vaccinated. Every child age 5 or older can get safe, effective vaccines now. While it will be a few weeks before we know everything we need to know about how strongly the existing vaccines protect against the new variant, Dr. Fauci is with me today, on our medical team, and believe that the vaccines will continue to provide a degree of protection against severe disease.
And I'm sorry, guys, I really didn't want this getting politicized. I know he's talking about getting vaccinated quite a bit here, but I'm really more interested in how effective that is against this new variant than anything. I hope they talk about that if they have that data. Because once again, our entire United States military is all vaccinated. If you were in the military and you refuse to get the vaccination, what I'm told, because I still have a lot of friends in there, is that you can get a other than honorable discharge right now if you refuse to get the vaccine. So whatever your political views are, our entire military is vaccinated. So it is relevant whether or not this is that will protect our military from this variant or not.
And as additional protections, please wear your mask when you're indoors, in public settings around other people. It protects you, it protects those around you. Third, in the event, hopefully unlikely, that updated vaccinations or boosters are needed to respond to this new variant, we will accelerate their development and deployment with every available tool. I want to reiterate, Dr. Fauci believes.
So that's interesting. So there is a chance that we may have to get shot again with another vaccine against this new variant. So that is a very real possibility. That's pretty interesting.
The current vaccines provide at least some protection against the new variant, and the boosters strengthen that protection significantly.
So they know that it provides some protection. Yeah, man. So, I mean, our entire U.S. military may still be vulnerable to this, and everybody who's gotten vaccinated may be still vulnerable to this new variant. And people who've already gotten COVID, they have an increased chance of getting this new variant, supposedly according to the World Health Organization.
We do not yet believe that additional measures will be needed, but so that we are prepared if needed, my team is already working with officials at Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson to develop contingency plans for vaccines or boosters if needed. And I will also direct the FDA and the CDC to use the fastest process available without cutting any corners for safety to get such vaccines approved and on the market if needed. And we'll do that the same way that any modifications are needed or current treatments need used to help those who get ill with the COVID virus. Look, I'm sparing no effort and removing all roadblocks to keep the American people safe. All of this is confusing to a lot of people, but if it's confusing to you, let me close with this simple message. If you are vaccinated, but still worried about the new variant, get your booster. If you aren't vaccinated, get that shot. Go get that first shot. My team at the White House will provide me with daily updates this week. On Thursday, I'll be putting forward a detailed strategy outlining how we're going to fight COVID this winter.
Okay, so Thursday, it sounds like they'll be doing another update with actual policies that they'll be implementing. That's really what I'm pretty interested in.
Not with shutdowns or lockdowns, but with more widespread vaccinations, boosters, testing, and more. I promised every American that there will always be the latest vaccines available and the booster shots available to them and for free and everywhere available. Every single American, free of charge. And I will keep that commitment. But we need to do more than vaccinate Americans. To beat the pandemic, we have to vaccinate the world as well. And America is leading that effort. We've shipped for free more vaccines to other countries than all other countries in the world combined. Over 275 million vaccines to 110 countries. Now we need the rest of the world to step up as well. Let me be clear. Not a single vaccine shot Americans ever send to the rest of the world will ever come at the expense of any American. I will always make sure that our people are protected first. But vaccinating the world is just one more tool in how we need to meet our moral obligation as Americans and how to best protect Americans as well. The Delta variants and now the Omicron variant all emerged elsewhere in the world. So we can't let up until the world is vaccinated.
So that is a very good point there. That kind of regardless of what our policies are here in the U.S., if a new variant emerges in Africa or South America or in Asia somewhere, it's going to make its way here before we are really fully aware of that. There's really no way to stop that. And I mean, truthfully, it kind of goes back to like what our policies are here in our one country. It's not going to have the kind of impact that we want it to at stopping this thing.
Protecting Americans by doing that as well. As we continue this effort, let's remember where we stand. We're in a very different place as we enter the month of December this month compared to where we were last September, last Christmas. Last Christmas, fewer than 1% of American adults were vaccinated. This Christmas, the number will be over 71%, including more than 86% of seniors.
Wow, I actually didn't know it was that high. 71% have gotten at least one shot. That's pretty interesting.
Last Christmas, our children were at risk without a vaccine. This Christmas, we have safe and effective vaccines for children ages 5 and older, with more than 19 million children and counting now vaccinated. Last year, a majority of schools were closed. This year, 99% of our schools are open. Let me reiterate once more. We also now have booster shots that provide extra protection. They're free and convenient. There is still time to get your first 2 shots or your booster shot or get your children vaccinated before Christmas. All 3 are available and can be done before Christmas. If you and your family are fully vaccinated, you can celebrate the holidays much more safely. And given where we were last year, that's a blessing that none of us should take for granted. We're throwing everything we can at this virus, tracking it from every angle. And that's what we have to keep doing. That's how we reopen our country. That's how we reopen our businesses. That's how we reopen our schools. That's how, even with the pandemic, we've generated a record job creation, a record economic growth in this country. We've moved forward in the face of COVID-19.
So I'm not really interested in the politics of this. I'm really just interested in the updates.
Nancy Bloomberg.
Thank you so much, President Biden. Do you think that other countries will be reluctant to report variants or other strains given?
So let's fast forward a little bit. I think Fauci speaks a little bit. And again, politics aside, I really just kind of want to learn more about this variant.
We already have in place when people come into the United States, they have to be tested before they get on and they have to show vaccination documentation. So even before Omicron came in, we have a situation where we'll be able to test. And talking about testing, fortunately for us, the PCRs that we mostly use would pick up this very unusual variant that has a real large constellation of mutations. Fortunately for us, that the PCRs that we do pick it up.
So it's interesting that he says we got lucky, essentially, that our PCR tests do pick it up. I mean, again, this seems to imply that there are variants that standard test that we've mass produced and are using, there are variants that could not pick up. We got a little lucky in that this one is at least passing that test.
And we're following extremely closely the medical community, the COVID team. Any developments as it relates to how severe it is, how quickly it spreads, how dangerous it is, et cetera. We have more work to do in that area. And Wall Street Journal, Sabrina.
Thank you, Mr. President. The UK, Europe, and a growing number of countries have confirmed cases of Omicron. Are you considering additional travel restrictions on countries where the variant has been detected? And just separately, you urged Americans to wear masks in indoor public spaces, but many states and cities, including Washington, D.C., have lifted mask mandates. So are you calling on state and local officials to reinstate mask mandates?
With regard to the last question, the answer is I encourage everyone to wear a mask when they're indoors in a crowded circumstance like we are right now, and unless you're eating or speaking in a microphone. Secondly, the degree of the spread impacts on whether or not there's a need for any travel restriction. But that's not, I don't anticipate that at this point.
Okay.
We'll see where that works. And so the other Alex doesn't have a heart attack. I want to call on him. Is it that? Okay, let me ask the other Alex and then you.
And so that's good to know that they're not foreseeing any shutdowns of the airports just yet. And they're not predicting any more national mask mandates just yet. What's where we're at right now?
Mr. President, is this the new normal that Americans should expect in anticipating future potential variants? Should we expect intermittent travel restrictions and potential drops in the stock market going forward? Given any words of reassurance that this won't become the new normal? And then for both you and Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci said earlier on CBS that lockdown shutdowns are off the table for restraining COVID going forward. You said that won't be part of your plan on Thursday. So why is that?
Well, to answer your first question first, the answer is I expect this not to be the new normal. I expect the new normal to be everyone ends up getting vaccinated in the booster shot. So we reduce the number of people who aren't protected to such a low degree that we're not seeing the spread of these viruses. Now, we remain to be seen exactly what the elements of this particular strain are, but if they're, as I hope, then it's not going to be fundamentally different than in the past. In terms of, what was the second part of the question?
Are lockdowns off the table?
Yes, for now, yes. Well, because we're able to, if people are vaccinated and wear their mask, there's no need for lockdown. My last question.
It's going on from that question. We've got the Christmas period coming up, huge amount of travel. Would you give any thought to domestic flights requiring tests or vaccines to get on planes the same way as they do for international flights?
Well, at this point, that's not been recommended. I would wait for the scientific community to give me a recommendation on that.
Are travel restrictions too late to be effective, sir? What Dr. says is
You understand the point of the travel of the restriction, to give us time to get people to get protection, to be vaccinated and get the booster. That's the reason for it. Thank you all so very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. And
All right, so that's kind of where we're at now with what we know about this Omicron virus. Essentially, we don't know much. It's the preliminary data saying that it's more transmissible. That's what we're assuming. Somebody commented there that it's became the dominant strain in Africa in just 2 weeks, which is kind of implying that it could be more transmissible. It looks like our PCR tests are picking it up, so we at least do have a test for this. And it's unclear yet if the vaccine is fully effective against this. We may need to have another vaccine against this other strain of it. That's kind of where we're at with that. So if you guys like me doing these kind of news updates like this, let me know, because I could definitely do more stuff like this with updates with like FEMA and World Health Organization and that kind of stuff. I definitely do want to try to keep this as unpolitical as we can. But in case anybody's wondering, yeah, I'm vaccinated. I got both vaccines. I was in the military for 11 years. I had to get the flu vaccine every single year. The entire military has to get this vaccine. I don't know a single person who's had any adverse effects to the vaccine. Nobody's magnetized or any of these crazy things going around. Personally, though, I do know 2 people have died of coronavirus in the last 2 years. And yeah, so I'm vaccinated. I'll probably get the booster shot eventually. And we'll see about this new Omicron variant if I need to get another one for that. Obviously I don't want to be the one of the first people to get the new vaccine if they're going to be rolling out one. Yeah, I may do more live updates like this, give you guys kind of my commentary, bring you the news that I think is relevant. Maybe not just about the virus, but also from FEMA, from the national weather forecast and that sort of stuff. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one.